today we'll study a protocol that we all of us use. Is called SSL/TLS. Okay, when we do HTTPS, then essentially we are doing TLS. We'll cover the two main topics: basics of SSL/TLS, and we'll look at the motivation for doing so. And then we'll study this protocol in brief. We'll not go into bits and bytes because each protocol description itself can be very long, right? If you have to really implement a protocol, then you'll look at various parameters it carries and timing and various message formats, etc. But we'll not look at all the details, but main points. And okay. We've taken content primarily from the first one, CS 161, the computer security course taught at University of California, Berkeley. And second is the course by Vitaly Shmatiko. Let's start. Okay, here is Alice sitting in a coffee shop in some city in China. Let's assume that she is sitting in Wuhan in China, and she works in, let's assume, NSA. Okay, NSA is National Security Agency in US or some security agency, and then she knows that whatever she is sending to her head office or whatever she is doing, maybe she is Googling or something, will all be captured by the people out there, right? She knows that, right? But she still wants to do it, and she wants to keep her communication very safe. Okay. Her assumption is that everything around her, including Wi-Fi and backend and routers and so on and so forth, somebody can record what she is doing. Okay. Somebody can eavesdrop. Okay, so let's start with that, right? Now she has just started her laptop. So laptop will ask for something, right? She has just arrived in city of Wuhan, and she needs to connect to. Okay, so she's in cafe shop, and then that has Wi-Fi. The first thing she will do is that her laptop will continuously monitor the Wi-Fi signals and see if she can join something. Okay, and that's the first step, right? So laptop shouts, is there a wireless network, say X exists? X could be any, right? And let's assume that there is no security key or password required, because most of the coffee shop, if you go to say some cafe, they just give free Wi-Fi, right? So anybody who is in the cafe shop can use it. Okay, and then at the same time, Wi-Fi also keeps sending signal to everyone that hey, I exist, right? So this beeps keep coming up, right? So that's the reason when you switch on your laptop, you can see all Wi-Fi signals that is around you because they keep advertising themselves. Okay, so this access point or Wi-Fi point is advertising. Look, you can join me. I am so and so. And then okay, then if it match either thing matches up, she is asking for some Wi-Fi, and that Wi-Fi is available. She joins. This is exactly what happens, right? When we go to some place, say your lab, for example, and then seamlessly you connect your laptop, right? So without actually doing all the security things. So this is how this got connected. Her laptop is now connected to the Wi-Fi. Or what might have also happened is that the cafe has given the password, and then she connects to a particular Wi-Fi access point, and then that point asks for password, and she gives a password. So that connection is established. Okay, and then optionally there can be cryptographic exchange between the two if required, right? So we will not study Wi-Fi cryptographic part actually. Maybe next year if you have time, then we can discuss that. Okay, so now what's the next thing? The connection is done. She wants to do some Googling. Okay, she wants to search for something on Google. So what will happen now? What is the next step? Her laptop is just booted up. The laptop has hardware address or Ethernet address, but laptop does not have IP address. Okay, laptop does not also know which subnet it resides. Okay, laptop also doesn't have address of DNS, domain name server, right? Because if she wants to go to google.com, that google.com has to be converted into some IP address, and her laptop doesn't have that. Okay, all right. So what will happen next is that she will say, "Hey, can anybody send me basic config that I need?" So essentially now there will be some machine which is a DHCP server in the subnet that will respond back. Okay, here is your config. All right. What is the next step? So she gets what now? She gets her IP address. She knows what subnet her laptop is. Okay, and then few other parameters she has got, right? So she will get her IP address, gateway address of the gateway, because if she has to send message to somewhere outside beyond her subnet, then she needs to know what is the gateway address. Okay, because only then she will know that some address belongs to outside one. Okay, all right. The next is that address of DNS server. Okay, there's a possibility the DNS server may be beyond the subnet. Most of the cases is beyond the subnet, right? So these are the three things, and fourth thing is which is not mentioned here is subnet address, or CIDR address of subnet, right? All right. So these four things she gets. What's the next step now? She has IP address which has come here. Okay, and then she know the subnet address and so on. Now next step is that she will connect to DNS server, right? So her laptop send DNS request asking for google.com. Fine. It uses UDP. Fine. DNS resolver may not be, the DNS server or DNS resolver may not be in the net. Okay. So in that case, it goes through a gateway. Here is the gateway. Right? The gateway address she has got, right? So, okay. So basically we need gateway address because this is one subnet, and over Ethernet destination address within the subnet will be this gateway address, and then this gateway will take out the IP address or UDP IP packet, and then it will see the address of DNS resolver, okay, this machine, and then send the IP packet. All right, what will happen next? Okay, now she is asking to resolver or DNS server, what is google.com? Give me IP address of that. Okay, so fine. So the request will come to resolver, and if resolver doesn't know the address, the resolver may try to get it from somewhere, but the responsibility of the resolver to in turn get this address from somewhere. Okay, because DNS servers are connected to higher level DNS servers and so on. So, and finally, the resolver is able to, or DNS server here is able to get the address, which is 172.217.6.78. Okay. All right. So this address will come to now Alice. Fine. What is the next step? Remember, Alice is sitting where? Alice is sitting in a place which is surrounded with her enemies. Okay, anybody, and all connections are unreliable. So if whatever she does now, that will that may not remain private. Somebody is there to, you know, snoop that on the way or read that. Okay. So what she will do now? Okay. Now her laptop now established a connection to web server 172.217.6.78, this one, and uses TCP rather than UDP to obtain reliability. Fine. But TCP, so far what we have studied, just sends plain messages, right? Okay, so these are non-encrypted messages. Okay. Now, network layer reliability may not come here into picture because network layer reliability, if she wants to use VPN, there may not be availability of VPN. IPsec may not work in that country, right? So, because network is anyway provided by enemies. Now, only option left to her is that she knows that her data can be leaked anywhere. So the option left is to encrypt her own data starting from the laptop. So she decides to, okay, use TLS. Okay. Of course, in order to create a connection with the server, the first few steps are the same. The first establishes or connection is to be established, right? And she uses TCP SYN, okay, and so she sends in message. Okay, that should come here, and then this server will send CNET, which will go to the laptop here. Okay, all right. It has reached, and in response to that, because now they have exchanged initial sequence number, etc., and now she will send X, which will finally come to this point here. Okay. Of course, it's shown in the router, but it should come to this point. Now, once this is done, it means that TCP connection is done. All right. So they can reliably exchange message. Now, reliability here means that whatever she is sending is reaching to the server here. This is a Google server, but that doesn't say that nobody on the way will not read it, right? Because there is no security still. So this connection is established fine. So next step is that she needs to do TLS or HTTPS. Okay, HTTPS in turn uses TLS. Okay, all right. Any question? Okay, all right. Let's move ahead. Okay. So she wants now confidential connection and integrity and authentication because she wants all this, and of course she decides to use TLS. Okay, good. Now first, what will be the first thing? In order to do, okay, Alice needs to encrypt the messages, right? All the messages that will go between Alice and the server, Google server here, must use some encryption. And the encryption that is used is symmetric encryption. Okay, wherein both parties know the same set of keys. Okay, now in order to do that, some understanding has to be reached to what is a symmetric key. Okay, first thing first is that she needs to know that this machine whom she is talking to is actually google.com, and that too in some place. Okay, so this machine will send a certificate. We have studied digital certificates, right? Digital certificates are sent to prove that the public key of this machine is whatever, right? So this certificate will contain the public key, and certificate is issued by third party. So Google in turn would have got this certificate from third party, and then that certificate Google will send to Alice. Okay. Now Alice will decrypt it with Okay. Okay. So what will happen is that this certificate will be sent, and as normal digital certificate that we use, Alice will be sure that this digital certificate or this key, public key, belongs to Google. Of course, I mean, we have studied how digital certificate works, right? I mean, digital certificate in turn is encrypted by third parties, right? Or the one who has issued digital security is that party's private key. And so Alice can decrypt it and can find out google.com's public key. Okay, all right. So now she will send a, she will, well, if you really possess the corresponding private key, prove it by decrypting the blob, which I will use to establish a secret key. The blob is essentially some set of numbers, right? Let's assume here some number. Okay, so she will encrypt it using public key, some number, and then send it to this machine, and then in turn it will decrypt it and send it back. So this will complete the dialogue between the two. Okay, all right. So now after that, after that, they can exchange key, right? Symmetric keys. And in order to do that, we can use RSA algorithm, or we can as well use Diffie-Hellman algorithm. Okay, so now once keys are exchanged, the communication between two will start, between Alice and the machine here. Okay, now whatever they are sending, like whatever Alice is sending, she will also use some kind of she will create a MAC, okay, message authentication code, and then she will send along with message this message authentic code, and both will be encrypted. We have seen this method, right? I mean, how we can use MAC for authentication. Okay, exactly same algorithm will be used here, and all the exchanges will happen so in the similar way. So now to repeat, once TCP connection established between Alice and the server, TLS connection will be established. And first step in starting TLS connection is that the machine here will send the digital certificate that will make sure that the machine Alice is talking to is actual google.com server. Okay. And once that is done, then key exchanges will happen. Okay. And so both parties will have same set of keys, both hashing key as well as encryption keys. And once that is done, then regular exchange of messages will happen with the help of encryption and hashing or MAC. All right. Any question? Okay. Are you able to understand what we have discussed so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's go into detail now. What we have discussed so far is only top level view or gist of the algorithm. Yeah. Okay. All right. So this we have already done. So what we have studied so far is IP, IPsec, TCP, HTTP, FTP, SMTP. So if we do provide security at network layer, the protocol stack will look something like this. If you do it at transport layer, then protocol stack will look like this. We use IP, TCP, and SSL and TLS. SSL or TLS, both are the same. I mean, the new version of SSL is called TLS now. And then the application layer security we can use in SMIME, for example, in emails. Okay. Of course, we will not have time to study this, but today we'll try to understand the basic concept of TLS. Okay. So SSL or TLS stands for Secure Socket Layer and Transport Layer Security, respectively. Okay. Both are the same protocol and uses different crypto algorithms. Okay. Now TLS is in use, and TLS is de facto standard for internet security. Okay. The primary goal of TLS protocol is to provide privacy and data integrity between two communicating applications. So data integrity means what? Whatever is being
tampered.
It's not tampered. Very good. And privacy is that nobody should be able to read it. So these are the two main things. And apart from that, we can also do authentication. Now, application is every web browser will use TLS. Okay. When you connect to Amazon.com or you connect to Google.com or HDFC.com or any place where you are doing any important activity, where there is exchange of say money or credit card information, so make sure always that it is HTTPS that you are using. Okay. Otherwise, there is no encryption. It's just HTTP. Then there can be a man in the middle attack. Okay. So it's being used in almost all applications nowadays, right? Voice or IP payment systems or distributed systems. So wherever TCP is used, we can use TLS. So history is as follows. Started with SSL 1.0. And Netscape was the company that designed the first browsers, right? Right in the beginning, sometimes around 90s, they came out with Netscape. So I actually used Netscape right in the beginning when it came in. First time I used browser was in 1994 with College Park, Maryland. First time. And then later on, it became SSL 2.0, then 3.0. Then IETF has started working on it and came out with TLS version 1.0. Okay. Right now, we are using TLS version 1.3, which came out in March 2018. Okay. Okay. So we'll look at the basic principle of TLS now. Okay. What TLS does is it gives end-to-end secure communication in unsecured channels. Okay. Assuming that the attacker completely owns the network. As in case of Alice, she is sitting in Wuhan, and then she's surrounded with all military journals and so on and so forth, who is just trying to snoop into what she's doing. And they can't do it openly, right? She can't. So they will try to see what all she's sending. So assuming that attacker completely owns the network, controls Wi-Fi, DNS, router, and they have their own website and his own website. And they can listen to any packet, modify any packet in the transit, and inject their own packet in the network. Okay. Now, despite all that, she wants to do the communication. Okay. All right. So now TLS is the only solution that she will have. She can't use the VPN here. Okay, all right. So the goal of TLS is to provide end-to-end communication protection, achieved all the way from originating client to the intended server at the endpoint. And condition is that there is no need to trust intermediaries. It means that all the routers on the way or Wi-Fi access point could be malicious. Okay. So mechanism used is data encryption. So we use symmetric key for that, and we do in order to do symmetric key encryption, we'll have to exchange keys. Okay. Then data integrity, right? That it has not been tampered. Then for that we use MAC. Okay. And this also provides replay protection. And thirdly, we do authentication using public key and certificate. All right. So these are the three main parts of TLS, right? Or all right. And then we also do so this protocol also supports many different key exchanges, encryption, integrity, and authentication protocols. And all these things, as we have seen in case of IPsec, the first phase of IPsec is negotiation of these parameters. Right? Similarly, we do a negotiation, what protocols are going to be used, and then key exchanges. Okay. So TLS provides security with encryption. So encryption provides confidentiality, integrity, and authentication. All right. So then let's now move into the protocol. SSL or TLS consists of two protocols. Handshake protocol, where keys are exchanged. Okay, and then the record protocol. So uses the secret key to establish in the handshake protocol to protect confidentiality. So second phase is essentially encryption and data exchange. All right. So when we browse, say for example, this I've gone to Amazon.in, and this is a web page. And then what's important here is that always you will see HTTPS. Okay. While we use HTTP in normal URL, there are many websites that don't support URL. So nowadays, the websites that are not supporting URL could be malicious websites, right? So make sure that most of the websites where you go for doing anything interesting has to be just a minute. Oh. Okay. Are you still able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So another 5 minutes I will stop, and then I will send you another invite, and then we'll restart, because I have still not updated my payment plan for this one. So I never thought it's already. So 10 minutes are left out. All right. Okay. So we'll study now SSL and TLS. After 5 minutes, I will stop and send you invite, and then please rejoin. Okay. So so browser picks some symmetric keys for encryption. So first thing is that symmetric key browser will decide, and then there will be exchanges of that, and that exchange will happen through RSA public encryption. Then both sides will also agree on MAC, and then once MAC and symmetric key are agreed upon, then exchanges will happen. Okay. So this picture depicts exactly the same thing. So we'll not go into detail into this picture now. So we'll move into the next one. So this is the first step. Browser sends SYN, and then Amazon server sends SYNX, and then once browser receives SYNX, it will send the X. So they have exchanged initial parameters that we studied in last class as well. And then the browser will say that these are the choices of different protocols, whether you use TLS or SSL or RSA or some encryption algorithm, 3DES or AES, and then some hashing algorithm, MD5 or SHA-1. Okay, and then Amazon server will accept whatever wants to accept, and then send a random number RS, and then this will be about 2 or 3 KB of data. All this is happening now in clear text. Okay, now next step would be, okay, once this is done, okay, so it means that both have exchange random number as well, right? So browser exchange RP and server exchange RS. Okay, now Amazon server will send certificate. Okay, so basically certificate of the public key. Now using this public key, it will send a challenge, right? So, this guy knows the public key, then it will send a challenge. It will send free master secret. It's essentially a secret key. You'll see that we use PS to create public key and a private key, right? So PS goes encrypted with Amazon's public key. Now Amazon will be able to decrypt it and get the value of PS. And the next step is that this will send MAC, browser will send MAC of some dialog. Okay, all right. So what happens is that once PS is received, okay, let me go back. All right. So here, what happens is that once PS is received, okay, okay, once PS is received by server, then using PS, RB, and RS, these numbers they have exchanged, both browser and server will calculate the cipher keys CB, CS, and IB and IS. MAC keys are IB and IS, CB and CS are the cipher key. So you may ask why two keys here? Now, when we do exchange, it's actually one-way exchange, right? From browser to server, we use one key, say CB, and then when server is sending to browser, it will use another key. That was it. Can we stop now and connect after 5 minutes? Once PS is received, here both can calculate different keys that we have discussed in the last slide. And then the browser can send MAC of some dialog using IB, right? Which is a hash key. So using this hash key, we create MAC and send it to this guy. And server in turn will use the same dialog and do it MAC using his own key. Now, note that dialog is some set of messages, and both have the knowledge of that, right? So they can decrypt it. Once this message is received here, it will use key IB, which is also available here. From this, we can do authentication. Okay, and then now the regular message communication will happen, right? So the message M1 is a message to be sent. So that will be the first thing. Second is MAC of this message with IB as the key, hash key. So these two will be there, and it will be encrypted with CB, which is a asymmetric key of browser. And similarly, other way will happen, right? The M2 with MAC of that with hash key, and everything will be encrypted with CS. Okay, that will come here. So the now regular message communication happen. That's all the protocol is. First thing is that Amazon server sends certificate about its own public key. Certificate is given by some third party, and the browser will know, basically public key of that third party, and from that it will be able to see the certificate, or it will be able to open the certificate, right? And then once browser know that it's actually the public key of Amazon.com, that will send the PS some unique number that it has generated to the server using her key, using the public key of Amazon server, right? So it's encrypt this PS with public key and send it to Amazon server. Okay, and then what will happen is the next is it will exchange the MAC of some dialog encrypted with IB, that is hash key, right? Using hash key encrypt it or create message authentication code for some set of dialogues. And note that this dialog and the dialog here that's used is exactly the same. So now once the server receives this MAC, what it can do is that since it has IB, since it has dialog and IB, it will create that number and check the number that has come is the same as the one here. So similarly, MAC sent here can be verified by browser here. Note that when we use MAC, then there's no question of decrypting it, right? Because hash cannot be decrypted. Hash is like a signature, right? Take some dialog and create a signature, and then the signature cannot be decrypted. We cannot create original text, right? So essentially, it's just for verification. All right. And once this is done, then keys both from PS, uh, both machines can generate public key and private keys as well as hash keys, and then regular exchange of messages can start. Okay. So now the messages that are exchanged are encrypted with symmetric key. And this symmetric key is also available. For example, the CB is also available with Amazon server, so it can decrypt it and get the value of M1, and then also can check whether the MAC that has come in the message is same as the MAC that it will compute, and so on. So that's all the algorithm is. Now there is another version of this algorithm. Instead of using RSA, because RSA algorithm that we have seen earlier using public key, private key, there are some issues related to security. If public key is a private key somehow leaked, then there is a big problem, right? So what now, in order to improve the security further, what we use here is the Diffie-Hellman algorithm. Okay, and so Diffie-Hellman algorithm we have seen also in case of IPsec. Okay, but here in the beginning, still some private key will be used, right? So let's see how we'll do it. First is that certificate exchange will happen between server and browser. Certificate exchange will happen like in the case of earlier protocol that we studied. Okay, so it means the browser will know that the public key of Amazon server is genuine. Fine. Next step is that the Amazon server will send G, P, and G raised power A, where A is secret key, is a private key, is non-shareable key. Okay, this is private key of Amazon, and so it will send G raised power A mod P, and all this will be encrypted with private key of Amazon. Okay, when we this bracket is a private key. Essentially, all this is encrypted with private key and will be sent to the browser. It means that if suppose there is a attacker in between, that will also have public key, so it can see what all these values are. Now, note that all these values can be public. There's no issue, no security is lost. Okay. The next step is that now PS is to be exchanged, right? So PS is to be calculated. Okay. So what it will do is that once browser will receive this value, it selects its own random variable B, which is private key of B, and from then it computes G raised power AB mod P. Okay. Now this G raised power mod P becomes a PS. Okay. All right. Now this. Okay. All right. So so what will happen now is that so this guy, there's browser from browser knows the value of B because it chooses the value of B. It looks at G raised power A, so it can easily calculate G raised power AB. So that becomes not PS. Now note that the PS here is secret. It's not being sent. Remember, in earlier algorithm, we are sending PS encrypted with something. Okay. Here, browser will calculate the value of PS. Similarly, once G raised power B mod P reaches to other end, it knows its own secret key A, so it can calculate G raised power AB mod P. Okay, and then it means that it will also get value of PS. Now, PS is a shared secret. Now, from that, both of them you can knowing some details of the algorithm or some steps can always calculate CB, CS, IB, and IS. Okay. Now, CB, CS is cipher keys, and MAC keys are IB and IS. And then MAC will be exchanged as we have seen in earlier case. And then once MAC is accessed, means that authentication is over, and now regular message exchanges can happen, like the one here, right? So it will encrypt. Once CB is calculated, then encrypt M1 with, and then MAC of M1 with the value CB. That's it, same as earlier. So that's all the algorithm is. All right, so last class also we discussed the same thing. One examples also we have seen, but I will request you to please go through it again. All right. All right. So TLS 1.3 uses Diffie-Hellman algorithm that we have seen just now instead of earlier RSA. All right. So there are some limitations and uses. It's very, very effective and powerful protection method. So TLS, without TLS, we can't think of doing anything which is confidential and secret. So, and it's very cheap, right? I mean, the cost of public key in crypto is fairly low. However, the limitation is that we cannot use it sites that doesn't use HTTPS. I mean, sites, there are many websites that doesn't use TLS, right? So of course, then we can't use it. What happens if certification is stolen? You know, certification is what the browser sends a certificate, right? So Google has sent you certificate, and you'll use it only for some time, and then after that, you know, you'll check revocation list whether this certificate has been cracked. Because not only your website, but all websites must be using same. All machines, right, must be using almost same certificate. Okay, it means that there is a possibility if it's cracked by somebody, then people will come to know, and then there is a website you can find out whether this certificate has been broken or not, and then you will ask then for new certificate. Okay, so that's a normal mechanism, but that's true for any digital certificate issued by anybody, not here but elsewhere as well. And there are some other attacks which are not handled by this. For example, SQL injection attack. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to discuss this. Or if server has some flaws in coding and logic, then again, it cannot be handled by TLS. If there are server inconsistencies or vulnerabilities, it can't be handled. Browser server bugs cannot be handled. What TLS does is essentially encryption and authentication using MAC. Then using these two, we will have security. In a very neat way, actually, very, very neat way of doing this. But however, you know, there are man in the middle attack that's possible. For example, here, it says www.amazon.com, not S. How is it possible that somebody in the middle can intercept the packet or the browser page that's coming in and change this to HTTP www.amazon.com and send it to you. And when you click on that, you are letting the person do some mistake. Okay. So this attack is possible by somebody who is in the middle and can change the page. And then there have been issues about fraudulent Google certificates. Attackers in Iran have been creating a fake Google certificates and using them. So there are a number of ways people try to cheat, and then their, you know, companies become smarter and try to handle that. So essentially, it's a war between the two entities, right? I mean, attackers, and then SSL and TLS provide transport layer security, and it's very important. Okay, it's very powerful mechanism. It uses symmetry algorithm. It uses authentication using distance security. It uses MAC for data integrity, and then key exchanges using either RSA or Diffie-Hellman. Okay, and almost every browser uses SSL and TLS.